All right. So I'm hosting one of these things. I'll try not to talk too much.
It's
but I
almost
got
like
some
you're my
things to
boss.
say. Sort of.
Sort of.
I don't know. Anyway, Destiny. We're here to talk about Destiny. Maybe get a little bit of a different spin on Destiny. Ben, what do you think of Destiny so far?
So Destiny is a very strange game. I haven't felt this way about a game in a long time. I can't remember the last game I felt this about. Where I want to go home tonight and play Destiny. When I'm playing Destiny, I'm having a really good time. Simultaneously, I'm also kind of totally let down by Destiny.
Yes.
And I think you share that sentiment as well. I'm not exactly sure how you feel.
How you
So
feel
maybe
about
we
that
can
Destiny,
try to
Max?
explain this.
Okay. Well, I have that feeling too. And the whole thing is, there's nothing that I've done so far in Destiny that's like overly disappointing, you know?
Right.
But,
Yes.
But I do feel that joy of playing that game. I want to play that game. And even if it's just something mundane, is just shooting something in the face multiple times, I still find that really incredibly enjoyable.
Because they've made shooting things in the face feel really,
They've made
really,
a really
good.
good shooter. Yeah.
It's super smooth. The sound, like when you shoot that hand cannon, it feels powerful. When their head pops off and like white sparks or whatever shooting out, it feels good. I like it. It feels. It's not the issue that I have though. It's that Destiny takes place on multiple planets. You do all of these missions. There's supposed to be this sweeping story, yet it feels really, really, really tiny. Like it's weird to me when I do a mission and then I do something else that's supposed to advance the story, and I fight through the exact same spot in the exact same locations, the same enemies, and then I just go a little bit farther.
Yeah, the first 70% of every mission is the entirety of the first mission plus 30% this way or 30% this way.
I mean, I actually did get that feeling of, to
me that's like unacceptable.
Absolutely.
They did definitely market it as, look at this fucking magical experience or whatever.
Well, like everyone, like when we found out that how small, for lack of a better term, the game was before it came out, everyone was freaking out. And then Bungie's like confused. They're like, this is our biggest game like ever that we've ever made, like square footage wise or whatever. But like, I've said this to you before, like you can make a football field 8 miles wide. It's still just a football field.
Well,
and the Halo and games like that are linear, so they can feel bigger because you don't retread. You don't go. You go to all these different locations. It's all this crazy stuff.
You're constantly moving forward.
Constantly moving forward. Destiny is like you've got 4 levels, and you just play them over and over and over again.
It's sort of like you go to this planet and you're just stuck in place for a couple of hours, and then you go to this planet and you're sort of stuck in place for a couple of hours, and it's super frustrating to me because I think the game is actually really, really good looking.
Yeah.
The lighting is very impressive. There's a lot of details in the environment.
Sky looks amazing.
The textures.
Yeah.
It has sort of like this sort of creepy quietness to it where it looks like really cool things could be scattered around here, but there's not. Like, if you make the effort to just kind of wander around, you will just find pockets of respawning enemies and, like, maybe if you're lucky, a dead ghost. There's no incentive for me to explore.
And, like, there are chests, but there's so few and far between, and what's in them is never that great.
Right.
Like, even a gold chest. I found one so far, and it was like...
I got a regular item from
I got regular arm whatevers that were, like, worse than what I already had. And I was just like, okay, like... There's no incentive. And, like, patrol missions, which I think Explorer was a better name for them, but patrol missions, because patrol sounds boring. It's like you walk around at night and nothing happens and then you go home. But, like, patrol missions are kind of cool because there's not this pressure to, like, keep moving just to get somewhere and kill a thing. And then the timed mission ends are really weird to me. Like, the fact that it's a shooter, like a pretty good shooter, a competent shooter, and an MMO, like MMO light, the fact that they mix those two things,
I think
makes it a mediocre game.
It really does, because the shooter portion is great. Right. But the MMO is missing all of those things that make it an MMO. Except for all of the really horrible stuff of the MMOs. That's what it brings in.
Endless raid bosses that just get boring. You've got respawning enemies that respawn so quickly because they have to for the next guy coming through. But like they respawn so quickly that it's like impossible to do anything.
How much of a bummer is it whenever you go to a planet, like before you go into the instanced part of the mission, and you see people running around, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Like every single time, like whenever I go to the tower to like, because you can't talk. There's no way to communicate with those players.
Which I like, because I don't want to talk to people. But
sure, to a point. But something that I like in, say, World of Warcraft is even if I'm not directly interacting with these people, I see people getting on Trade Channel. They're like, I want to sell this, or hey, I'm getting attacked by Alliance, come over here. There's something about that communication that makes me feel like I'm a part of this living world. Whereas in Destiny, it's like everyone is in their own bubble. And that drives me nuts.
It is a little weird because just even being like, hey, let's try to do this objective together, like that doesn't exist at all. Like we can't even like follow the same path.
There are the public events.
Well, yeah.
But they're so rare.
So rare. Way more rare than beta.
Right.
And in beta, I hit them all the time.
Yeah, it kept like respawning over and over again. And I thought that's how it was going to be.
At best, what you get into is cool little situations where like some other people, guys or gals, are like running with you, or are running with you, and like you're like killing stuff and whatever, and then you enter a darkness zone and they just disappear.
Yeah.
Also, like, can we talk about rough edges? Because my God, like, I'm playing as an Awoken, right? I'm an Awoken hunter. And this is not really a spoiler, minor spoiler. You go and you meet the Awoken, and they don't acknowledge the fact that I'm an Awoken, because making 3 different movies would be too hard, Bungie? What? Like, yeah, maybe, like, some people are saying, like, okay, maybe it's because you're not really an Awoken, that's just the body that your ghost shoved you in or whatever, but, like, none of that's explained. I don't know, maybe it is later, but,
it feels like you're doing, like, going through that line of thought, it's like you're doing Bungie's work for them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, putting the Grimoire or whatever cards online and not in the game.
Not in the game!
I'm like, what the hell?
Because every time I get one, it's like okay,
go
to the website. It's like, I'm never going to go to the website.
I did go to the website, and there's, like, crazy backstory for these people. Like, the hunter guy has, like, this crazy backstory where, like, he had like, these other characters he was interacting with, he lost items, and he got stuck here, blah, blah, blah. And, like,
but they never mentioned that.
I'm like, why didn't you put this in the game? Because I'm talking to these people, and they're hollow shells. I don't know who any of these people are.
So
they don't mean anything.
They have no story either.
I've made an effort to listen to every piece of dialogue and every cutscene. I like full attention. And I know that there's some darkness. I know that there's a traveler up in the sky
who's good.
Who we're trying to wake up.
Yeah.
And there are these 3 different factions that are trying to kill people. Like, none of it has any impact.
Yeah.
None of it makes me care about it. And the thing is I don't think Halo has an excellent story. I know people disagree with me.
Pulitzer Prize,
but they made Master Chief feel like a person. That relationship between Master Chief and Cortana was interesting enough that I could pay attention and get something out of it. And I'm not getting anything out of Destiny.
It's an MMO thing. Like, to me, this is like early days of MMO. Like, now I know some MMOs have it where, like, the users have, like, a real impact. This feels out of the gate like, I'm going to do nothing to change this game world. Like, I maybe will find pieces of the Traveler or whatever the hell it is we're doing, but it's not going to, like, at the end of my playthrough, the Traveler's not going to wake up or something. I mean, I don't know, I'm not level 20 yet, but, like, nothing I do is going to change anything.
The whole idea of this being an MMO maybe wasn't exactly the best way to describe it, because it's massive and it is online, but you're not really. There's nothing to play. There's nothing to like combine those things together. It's just one really huge co-op.
It's a co-op game where several other little 3-people person groups happen to also be playing near you.
Yeah.
Right. And
so it's just a shooter with bad mechanics.
Yeah.
And like the weird stuff that happens, like when you cross into a new invisible zone and your partners like disappear and then reappear because it's like a seam in the world.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is that? That, like, why draw attention to that, which is just a bad mechanic, like, it's a bad game design. And then, like, I was playing this one part where it's like, kill all the enemies while Dinklage hacks a computer, which is what every mission is. But it's like, we were like, we must have killed the quota because we were both shooting at a drag and it just disappeared. And at first we were like, can they cloak now? And then Dinklage starts talking and it's like, oh no, we just beat the mission. They just all disappeared. I'm like, this is not a finished game.
You don't even like, you don't clean it up or anything. It's just they're
you've
gone.
Done
you're
this
done.
For enough time. Like Dinklage has a timer and you finished.
I've seen people compare Destiny to something like Diablo 3, where they say, hey man, whatever, Diablo 3 has a garbage story, which it does, and all you do is collect loot, and it's in this grind. And so I was thinking about it, why do I consider Diablo 3 a really good game now, and Destiny underwhelming, and it's because it's like the little things that really add up. Everything in Diablo 3 is simple. Like, I am getting loot in Diablo 3 constantly. From like the second I hit play to the end, I'm getting loot. Whereas in Destiny, I feel like it's slowly dripped out. There's no reason to explore. You're not finding that much stuff. Yeah. And when I get a legendary item, I just hold X to identify it, and then I have it and I can equip it. In Destiny, it's like, okay, you got a legendary item. Now you need to go to back to the tower, sit through this really long loading screen.
Crazy loading
screen.
And
now you get to see what it is. Okay, now you want to go test it out. Now you have to go to a planet.
Yeah.
You have to get down there. Now you have to go through another really long loading screen, and it's just like those little things. It's like, okay, I finished a bounty. Let me just get the reward right now.
There's no
Don't
reason.
make me go back to the
tower.
Also,
why did they make it so you have to talk to the postmaster first?
It's
so
stupid.
Don't
really understand
just
that
something
either.
for the postmaster to do? Or like worried that
why do they? Well, it's weird because they have like a postmaster, but they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
And so that was
in the beta. You just went to the bounty guy. Like it doesn't make any sense.
It sounds like a minor gripe, but if your game is about constant progression and loot, immediacy is like the most important thing, and there's a surprising lack of that.
Like Diablo 3 is fun because it's so streamlined that it's like relaxing.
Right.
Like you can just play that without even like thinking. Right. Destiny is like, okay, hurry up and wait. Like, okay, we got, and like the fact that it kicks you out of a mission when the mission ends.
Right.
It's so weird. It doesn't feel right.
Wouldn't it be so much better if you finished the mission and then it was like, okay, man, get on your Sparrow and go zip to this other place.
Go to the next mission.
Like
why kick you out for no reason? Like, why have a finish screen? Like, blah, blah. I'm sure there's
it's weird because you don't even have the option of like orbiting out yourself.
Right.
You finish the mission and you're already in space. And it's just like, what happened to that in between, you know?
To me, what it feels like is the mechanics of Destiny, the way they had to make it work, like fights the game. Like the function fights the form.
I think Bungie is really good at making shooters, and they just weren't prepared to really understand what it took to make a multiplayer. And at this point, they can't go back on it and say that, you know,
because basically it's a game with levels. And that's not an MMO.
It's not. It's not. There's not even enough levels for it to be an MMO.
Right.
Generally.
But I mean, not levels like character levels. Levels like.
No, I mean, like
2-1,
exactly, like
3-1.
those areas.
Yeah.
Even in any MMO, there's tons and tons.
But like the thing I will say is like Diablo, we were playing a lot of it, and we probably played less of it now just because Destiny's out. But I'm playing Destiny because I enjoy it, whatever. But the reason I'm playing it is to get to level 15 so I can try to do Blade Dancer instead of Gunslinger, because it seems more interesting.
But the thing that they do really well is that they make the things that are like really aesthetically pleasing. And that makes you want to continue, and sure, pointless, but at the same time, it's like that's sort of a part of you know, MMOs and grinding. So they have that portion down, because I've like collected so many hoods. Like I don't know how many hoods or whatever like special class items you have, but I mean I enjoy doing that.
I got one that was rad.
Something
full length.
Along with it that I think is really good. Whenever I play WoW, I always get super frustrated as I'm going through leveling because the combination of gear that I get just looks ugly. It looks awful. Yeah. And it's not until I like get to the end game and I make a considered effort to get a whole set that it looks good. Everything I equip in Destiny
looks exactly the same.
But it always looks good. Like whenever I equip a new thing, I'm like, okay, this has enough detail in it and it works. Like the colors work well. That seems to me like it was a considered effort to like, we don't want you to equip anything and have it look off. Like almost everything I've put on my character, I'm like, I look cool.
Because to me it looks the same. Like what I want is a helmet that lets me see your face. None of them do that. Yeah.
Sure.
Like stuff like that. Like they're all just the same.
I don't think they look the same, but I will agree with you that there could be a lot more variation.
Right.
Yeah.
We gotta wrap this thing up, but for me, a final thought would just be Destiny, good but not good enough. Like not good enough to warrant the hype and the amount of money and the
hype isn't their fault. The hype is just hype. You know, that's something
they spent a lot of time and money making that hype. Though
they did show a lot of detail of what we were gonna get. Maybe just not too much detail. Maybe too specific. You know.
I mean, for me, like I wish I hadn't played the beta. I'd probably like it more.
But do you think that there is potential of growth?
Absolutely.
That's the thing, like we were all saying before, is like 2 years from now, Destiny's gonna be the best game ever made.
Well,
not the best game ever made. Destiny, 2 years from now, Destiny will be good. Right now, it isn't.
It's just
to satisfy our needs of what our definition is.
They'll iron out all the problems.
Maybe this isn't fair of me to do, but when I think about Halo 1, that game rethought how shooters
Combat
made
evolved.
sense on console. You had the two weapon swapping. You had the regenerating shield. You had the two grenades that you could easily switch between. Like and you didn't. It was mapped to a button. You didn't have to switch out your gun. And so I thought Destiny was going to be able to really make MMOs make sense on a console, and it hasn't. It feels like you were kind of saying it's a really solid shooter with just some of that MMO stuff grafted on.
Yeah.
Like it's not a blend. It's almost like water and oil in a sense. Like they're just kind of like sitting on top of each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my thought.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys in the game tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
give
definitely
it a
gonna
year.
play.
Yeah. Game of the year. 9.5.
They didn't get much. Kept hitting an active firewall. Old Earth. Russian. The legends are true. A war mine did survive the collapse. Rasputin. An AI built to defend Earth. He faced the darkness and survived. And he's protecting something here in the Cosmodrome. We have to find a way to reach him.